News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. I have more audio from Kamala's interview. I want to go over the polls real fast. My question on her in her 20-minute interview, unedited, uninterrupted, unlike CBS, they didn't polish any mistakes for her or make her look better to make her more palatable. And the polling is coming in. We got Marquette University, Wisconsin, showing that Kamala has a 1-point lead, which they call a statistical tie. You have Real Clear Politics, however, showing that Trump, let me see, in Wisconsin, Harris is up by only 0.3 in the average of polls in Real Clear Politics. You also have in Michigan, Trump is up, he's up by 1 in the Real Clear Politics average of polls. That's not even a battleground. Why do they call it a battleground? Should be, okay, Michigan, there we go. Ohio was there. I'm like, what? I don't want to see Ohio. He's not going to lose that one. Everybody knows that. Michigan, he's up by 1. Pennsylvania, he's up by 0.3. And, oh gosh, you have to remember something, though. Joe Biden had a 10-point lead in Pennsylvania right now, and he ended up winning by 1.2%. Again, Joe Biden had 10 points, 10% over Trump right now in the polls, and he won by 1.2%. That is horrible news for Kamala. There's other info that I'm going to share with you because it's just very, very scary news for the Kamala Harris campaign. Also in... Let's go here. Also in Wisconsin, she's up by 0.3. She very well could win it, but right now it's within 1 point. So that's where it's like, I don't know. And then we also have Arizona, Trump's up by 1.1 in the Real Clear Politics average. North Carolina, 1.2. Georgia, 0.9. So the only one she's leading in the Real Clear Politics average of polls is Wisconsin by 0.3. That's bad news for her. I mean, there's no way to look at it other than that. It's really bad news for her. And you have surrogates in Pennsylvania saying that it's a disaster for the Kamala campaign. Listen to this. This is from actually a leftist news outlet, The Politico. Kamala Harris's Pennsylvania campaign plagued by finger pointing and drama. Pennsylvania's such a mess. Her inside team Harris, unusual levels of finger pointing. And I heard from Dana Perino last week, when they start finger pointing, that's because they know they're going to lose or they think they're going to lose and they want us to have an out. Well, I told them this and they didn't listen. Well, it's his fault because he did this. Everybody's pointing at Kamala's campaign manager for the state of Pennsylvania, saying she's AWOL, she's not there. We're talking about the mayor of Philadelphia is mad because she ain't being used. We're talking about the liaison, I guess, for the state, and there's a rivalry in general between Pittsburgh and Philly. They're on the opposite sides of the state and such like that, and there's a rivalry. I read deep in this piece, and so it gets worse with the description. But I wanted to play some audio for you as I ask, with our phone lines wide open right now, how do you think Kamala did in her Bret Baier interview that just aired tonight? We're continuing to play highlights of it. Did she make a winning argument tonight? Did she sound like a winner to you? Did she help her case or hurt it? And do you think the wheels are falling off on her campaign, and will it get worse, possibly causing her to lose? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here we go on illegals remain in Mexico. Why did you take all those laws away? And let's go now. Here we go. No, hold on, wrong button. There we go.
So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the CHIPS and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please?
But you
have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
and they didn't bring up that bill. I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound good to you? Is that working for you if you're an independent or a Trump-hating Republican? Do you think that's going to attract them? On the number 2 issue in the entire country, immigration, behind the number 1 issue, the economy? Was that a decent response, Producer Garrett, too? No, that was bad. She was feisty and combative. And he was trying to say that's an amnesty bill. That's all it was. They had nothing on border security. He was going to make 11 million illegals in our country citizens, give them on a path to citizenship. It was an amnesty bill. And he said you had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Why didn't you pass it? But she wouldn't let him say it because she didn't want it to be said. And then there was this one.
Looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath.
Oh, we already played that one.
The first bill that we
already played that one. I apologize. Okay, I think that's everything. And I just want to ask you, did I play the one while we're on the wrong track? The 70% wrong track one? I don't think I did. Here's one more. Lines wide open, 800-288-WBAP. How do you think she did? Did she make a winning argument? Did she sound like a winner to you? Did you hear the joy in there? Let's play this last one right here.
Frankly, exhausted of Brett.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office. Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade, people have become. But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me.
Okay, and then there's a brand new Trump ad that just dropped. Here it is.
A flood of illegals, skyrocketing prices, global chaos, and Kamala wouldn't change a thing.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Nothing will change with Kamala. More weakness, more war, more welfare for illegals, and even more taxes. Only President Trump cut middle-class taxes, and only President Trump will do it again.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Pretty good. It's a winning message. All right, that's on my Twitter feed. Everything you're hearing tonight is on my Twitter feed at Chris Kroc Show. That's at Chris Kroc Show, CHRISKROK. That's CHRISKROK. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Same handle, at Chris Kroc Show. That's at Chris Kroc Show. Military, U.S. military breaking news. B-2 bombers bombed Yemen with the Houthis, the terrorists that Joe Biden took off the terror watch list, then put them on a half-baked one that doesn't do anything like it did with Trump. And by the way, wow, you're bombing the Houthis after they've been we are still at the highest level of maritime war combat operations than since World War II, according to the admiral in charge of that part of the world with our Navy. And so we're bombing things without killing them and stopping them completely. They are still blocking the shipping lanes with drones, Iranian drones, and ballistic missiles from Iran. And Kamala still didn't answer. She obfuscated. She wouldn't say, why have you given Iran $100-200 billion since you took office with Joe, and you say they're the number one enemy? Why are you letting them fund all this slaughter of Jews and all these terror attacks? And she wouldn't answer. She did the same thing, obfuscated, talked over him. Okay, coming up next on the Chris Kroc Show, I have a Trump town hall. We're going to pivot now. I got to tell you something. This is an amazing time right now. And I have to realize, too, no matter what happens, God forbid the other way happens, but that right now it's amazing, and we should enjoy and relish right now and really absorb it. It's quite amazing. You know, Trump's in a town hall with all women today on Fox News with Harris Faulkner, and she is on an interview with Bret Baier today. It's quite amazing to watch this. And I was hanging on every second of her interview with Bret Baier because I'm like, she literally could say one wrong thing here and destroy her candidacy. And I think she did not help it with where she needs it to move on. The independents, the Trump-hating Republicans, she did not move the needle. In fact, I think she hurt the needle with them tonight by not answering the most critical questions on the economy and illegal immigration and such. Okay, not taking any responsibility for her own administration's actions and all turning on Trump when he wasn't in charge for 3.5 years. Okay, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, I have audio highlights of Trump's town hall with women. I'll play you those highlights. I also want to drop in about Kamala Harris's Pennsylvania campaign plagued by finger pointing and drama from the Politico today, a 5-6 page piece that I read through. I'll give you some of the highlights. All that's coming up next to the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. The latest on that town hall, you hear all the audio in 2 minutes at 9:17 on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. 800-288 WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227.
Are they stupid? So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
So are they misguided?
Oops. That's her saying, I would never say that about people that are stupid, and then right afterwards calling 18 to 24-year-olds stupid. In her own words, y'all. Here is Dana Perino saying that her answers today in the interview with Bret Baier that I played a whole bunch in the past hour, and every one of them that I played is on my Twitter feed at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. By the way, let me tell you something. Since the top of the hour, so far 20 minutes into this and counting, there is a panelist on CNN, and all they're talking about is the Fox News interview. And I'm telling you something, that's not good. Now, there's going to be people on that panel. They're going to kiss her butt. They always do. She's incredible. She's the second Messiah, the second Obama. But you have independents like Kevin O'Leary on there and others. And they're going to tell you the truth, which is where are the answers. Now, here's Dana Perino saying that she doesn't pass the smell test on her answers.
So her answers are not going to pass the smell test with an audience who has watched loyally. We have more Republicans, Democrats, and independents than watch than any other news channel. And we have covered immigration since, well going back. I've been here 14 years. We always talk about it. And one of the things she does is she sandwiches in the bill she's talking about, which you clarified, and then the bill she says that Trump killed. In between those things is when you had the millions of people flooding into the country with no other reporter but Bill Malugin and Griff Jenkins down there at the border covering it. The story of a lifetime. And now people are dealing with that in not only in New York City, or not even just the border states, they're dealing with it in all the major cities. And they're dealing with increased housing costs and the problems with the schools and increasing crime. And what about the jobs? I mean, all of those things. Now, I just wonder if at some point, if acceptance is the first step of recovery, if she had ever said something like, we could have done a better job on the border, just acknowledge it. Like, what would happen? Would the whole entire campaign fall apart? Because the majority of people think that Trump would be better on immigration.
Well, there you go. She won't acknowledge it. She just obfuscates and won't answer the question. And that's what she did with illegal immigration, with transgender reassignment surgery that she supports for illegals and when they're in custody and for prisoners. And she literally, all she would say over and over again is, I will follow the law. And then she said Trump had the same policy that allowed it. And he said the Trump administration, under the Trump administration's 4 years, there was not one gender reassignment surgery. So you have that presidential power to change your mind. She wouldn't. I will follow the law. She doesn't want to forsake her far left values. She hasn't changed. Her values haven't changed, as she said. And I believe her. Linda in Dallas, you're calling in at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3, asking, how do you think Kamala did? Did she make a winning argument? Did she sound like a winner? And do you think she helped to hurt her case tonight? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Linda in Dallas, WBAP, what do you got?
Well, I thought it was wonderful because, when I was watching it, I started thinking, this would be the perfect training film to show somebody that has Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, for her.
Because, yes, because every time he asked her something, she went to Trump. It's like Trump, if this is a person that Trump is so ensconced in your head, you just can't stop talking about him.
I think that's because she doesn't want to answer the questions, and so she just points blame to him. In fact, let me tell you something. There is a new article in the Wall Street Journal that came out today, and it says that Kamala is going to focus only on solely in these last weeks. She has decided, as the person in charge of her campaign, that she is going to solely go after Trump and attack him on his personality and him personally, and that's really going to be it. That's going to be her main thrust of these last weeks, is focusing on how bad he is.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's her strategy. I was kind of being facetious there.
I know.
Yes,
I know.
definitely.
It's a ridiculous strategy, but that's her strategy. I mean, that literally is what they said. That's exactly. She's going to filibuster through it. There's another.
That was her intent.
There's another. Well, that's not going to do it. For the Trump haters that don't want to vote for him but will not vote for her so far, that might vote for her, it's not going to change their minds. The Wall Street Journal also reporting tonight that Kamala Harris has suddenly changed her tune on the I'm going to give all black entrepreneurs $20,000. And they now have told the Journal these programs are going to be, quote, open to all Americans on a race-neutral basis, not for black men only, like she said yesterday. She said on the Charlemagne, the God with a little G show. It says Kamala Harris' agenda for black men will be open to all, campaign says to the Journal tonight. And then it goes on and says Vice President Harris's opportunity agenda for black men, quote, I mean, it's direct right there, aims to shore up support for a pillar of Democrat base, the Journal says, with a key section promising 1 million loans that are forgivable to black entrepreneurs and others to start a business. And then, of course, legalizing weed, because all she thinks, what Kamala thinks about black men, she thinks about men that are bums, that need a handout, welfare check, $20,000, and she thinks of black men as being pot smokers, always smoking weed. So they're deadbeat pot smokers that need a welfare check. That's it. That's what she thinks of black men. And Obama degraded that. We heard that soundbite yesterday. I played it for you, of Obama saying, the brothers have a problem with voting for a woman and shaming them into voting. Shame never worked for me. I gotta roll into, but great call tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Audio highlights. All the highlights of Trump's all-women town hall in Georgia today with Harris Faulkner on Fox News is next on the Chris Kroc Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 9:33. Coming up next, 800-288-WBAP is our number. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Trump Town Hall today with Harris Faulkner, all women. What's his name? The slimy guy from CNN, fake news CNN. What's his name? Brian Stelter. I can't believe they hired him back. The guy's a great person to be the butt of jokes on Fox News all the time. It's great. But he was saying that supposedly the all-female audience were all Trump supporters. Maybe they were. I don't know. That's, what I heard from him, but I don't know if that's true or not. But I'm going to play audio from it. because you'll hear whether he's personable, etc. And I think that's important, whether you make a connection. His policies are favored by Americans except abortion. But that's not the number one issue. The number one issue is economy. Number two is immigration. Number three, I hear from time to time, is abortion. That's fine. It is what it is. But if he's got 2 out of the 3 by far, then that's pretty darn good to me. It's very darn good to me, because abortion is important to many women, but the economy is important to everybody, including women. In fact, you're going to hear from women who can't afford to live, whether you're single. Basically, she's like, how can you help parents to afford to be able to have kids and live? I'll play you that one in a second. I'll give you details, too, on the Pennsylvania campaign for Kamala, plagued by finger-pointing and drama, according to the Politico, a leftist news outlet. And then Wall Street Journal saying she's sharpening her negative attacks Kamala is on Trump in her final weeks. That's her thrust. I don't think that's a winning message. Attacking him is fine. Obviously, it's part of the campaign. But the other thing is what, Joy? And that's not working. She's now trending downward in the polls for a week and a half or more. And I think Dana Perino's right that this has been, October's been a good month for Trump and not a good month for her. Here is the town hall with Trump today. Here's different ones. In fact, let's go to the first one, affordable, to make children affordable.
But what kind of realistic changes that do you think you can provide single parents, married parents, any kind of parent to just simply afford children in today's world with the way things are?
Right? It is not fair.
No.
You never heard of Ivanka, right? Ivanka. My daughter drove me crazy on this. We had the simplest, most beautiful I gave you the largest tax cuts in the history of our country, okay? Larger than the Reagan cuts, larger. But my daughter, Ivanka, she said, Dad, we have to do tax credits for women, for the child tax credits. She was driving me crazy. Then I did it, and I got it just about done. Dad, you've got to double it up. I said, Ivanka, it was actually more complicated than the entire bill, but I got it done. And what we're going to do, and I'm going to make, because I understand exactly what you're saying, we're going to readjust things so that it's fair to everybody, because it's really not fair to everybody. But we have a lot, and we're going up higher, but we're also going to readjust, because you have to make some readjustments. It's unfair to some people, and we're not going to have that. But she was the one that got it started. Those were our credits. Those were not the Democrat credits. A lot of Republicans said, rightfully, don't do it because we never get credit for that. We're not known for that. But the truth is, I wanted to put it all in the form of the tax cut. So I got the maximum tax cut, but we're also bringing down the taxes for companies and for people. We're bringing it down to 15%. And for companies, only if you make your product, build your product in the USA. Otherwise, you don't get it. So
okay, did that answer work for you? Are these answers working for you? I want to play more. If you caught the town hall, or maybe you can watch the excerpts that I retweeted earlier today as they were coming out in the 4 o'clock hour on my end is when I started going through them on my Twitter feed. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all the same handle, at Chris Kroc Show. That's at Chris Kroc Show. How did Trump do in the all-women town hall in Georgia, the very important swing state of Georgia? Are these winning arguments that you're hearing? And I'll give you more in a sec. And women, if you're a woman, did he score points with you today or push you away? And again, regardless of whether you're a woman or a man, how do you think Trump did in the town hall today? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here's more on the town hall.
My name is Tran Minh Nguyen, and my family escaped the communist Vietnam 30 years ago. And this is my question for you. America is a land of opportunity, and its policy welcomes immigrants legally. How different is your policy versus Harris when it comes to securing our borders and only accepting people to U.S. without causing any issue to our country?
On the borders?
Well, and people coming legally.
Yeah. We want to have as many people come in as possible, but they have to come in legally. We don't want murderers. We don't want drug dealers. We don't want human traffickers. We don't want people from prison that are being let out after murdering somebody. We don't want to have that. We want to have great people come in. And that's the sad thing. So many people work to come in our country. They've worked for 10 years. They're getting ready ready. And then millions of people pour through the southern border. They fly them over in airplanes. Nobody knew that until about 9 months ago. They were talking about the border and like they're trying and all this. Look, he's the worst president in history, and she's the worst vice president. She's worse than him. She's worse than him. And she was made the border czar, and she's destroying our country. I don't want to use the word destroyed because that makes it sound like it can't come back, but it's awfully close. She is the worst. He made her border czar. She never even went there. The Border Patrol yesterday, 2 days ago, thousands of them, the whole thing, 100%, unanimous, every single person, thousands of them, they endorsed me, and they work for her. They're not even sure if they're allowed to do it. They said, we don't care. She's so bad, we don't care.
Okay, we've got Laken Riley as well, his thoughts on her and illegal invasion, some more on that. We have transports, because this is one of the questions the women asked. Transports issue is a huge issue for women. So you might hear some radical leftist parents that are, women say, and mothers say, we need to be able to do that. We need to care about these people. We need to take care of them and, all this stuff. And I think the real women, not the real women, that's not right. I think the average woman out there, a real woman out there in general, does not want their daughter competing with a biological man. And I think the ones who are so adamant about it that we see in the news, it's the same two people in the Metroplex. They're always on the news every couple of months or so, and they go down to the state hall, state capitol, and testify. It's their right to do that. I'm not begrudging that, but I'm just saying it's the same 2 or 3 people. There's one lady named Amber Briggle. I know her name from I haven't read about her in like 6 months, but it was like every 5 months just hear, And I think even the Attorney General, I think Paxton had lunch with her. One of our top officials had lunch with her at her house or something because she invited him over, and it was nice. Everybody was nice, but she's still this radical leftist, and he's still not going to do it because it doesn't fit with his values or mine and most of ours. But I've got a couple more pieces of audio here. I got Laken Riley, transports. Coming up next as well from the Trump town hall. How did he do today? If you caught it, or as you're listening to it now, are these winning arguments that he's giving? And if you're a woman, did he score points with you today or push you away? 800, in general, is he scoring points with you or pushing you away? Supposedly there's a big 20-point gap with women, and I'm not denying it. But there's also a massive point gap for Kamala in men. Quite pronounced, very pronounced. I think it's even worse than the women with Trump, which is a big deal. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open. Chime in right now. How do you think Trump did in his town hall today in Georgia and with women, and are these winning arguments? And women, did he score points with you today or push you away? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. As I said, Laken Riley and transports from the town hall with Trump and women today. Plus, Kamala's Pennsylvania campaign plagued by finger pointing and drama. Pennsylvania is such a mess, is one of the quotations from Pennsylvania Democrats with Kamala. And then we have her sharpening her negative attacks on Trump in the final weeks. That's her big focus. I think it's a mistake. Maybe it isn't. We'll talk about that too next at 46 after the hour on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3 on The Chris Crock Show.
Cities where crime is out of control. My son is a Georgia Bulldog. He was on campus the day Laken Riley was murdered. Terrifying for all those kids, right? I wanted to know, how quickly in a sanctuary city like they're calling Athens, Georgia, how quickly can you remove those threats to our society so that our children can go out on a run, as they rightfully should be able to do, in a park in the daytime by themselves? It should not be like that. And also, I was wondering, I watch television all the time. I see your ads. I don't see a lot of vocalness about these sort of crimes, these hideous crimes in your promotion. So I'm wondering why that is.
Well, we are into it. First of all, we are going to end all sanctuary cities immediately. We're going to end them because they're really...
Is that an executive order you do that with?
I could do it with an executive order. I'll have to do it with an executive order. You can do it with the Aliens Act of 1798. We can do things in terms of moving people out. We can move them out of the sanctuary cities.
Okay, we have that on Laken Riley, and she's got a Bulldog student, which is UGA, where she was killed for jogging by one of Kamala and Joe's illegals. In a moment, trans sports. I want to ask how you think Trump did here. I don't know if you caught the whole town hall on Fox or part of it. You can see most of the clips. I've retweeted them on my Twitter feed. I'm playing them here this hour. I got one more to play for you. And how do you think he did today in his town hall? Are these winning arguments? And do you think did he score points with you if you're a woman today, if you caught it, or did he push you away? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Here he is on Trans Sports.
How do you plan on addressing the transgender issue in women's sports? I have 9 grandchildren, 6 of them female, all playing sports, and we are very concerned for their safety, not just on the field and the courts, but in their locker rooms as well.
It's such an easy question, and everybody in the room, and you know that answer, we're not going to let it happen. We stop it. We stop it. We absolutely stop it. You can't have it. It's a man playing in the game. I mean, physically, from a muscular, even if it was a little bit less, maybe they do all sorts of tests and drugs and everything else. Look at what's happened in swimming. Look at the records that are being broken.
So how do you stop it? Do you go to the sports leagues? Do you go to the Olympic
You just
councils?
ban it. The president bans it. You just don't let it happen. Not a big deal.
Now, it might sound sophomoric to say you just ban it. You might think, okay, constitutionally, can they do that? Can he force this and that? Well, here's the thing I can think about. Title IX is where the Biden and Harris radical left agenda has pushed stuff through, saying we'll take away your federal funding if you don't let trans men, men go to compete with women. And I do believe the enforcement, I'm not an expert here, but I do believe the administration has the authority to enforce things and say, if you do this, that's against the Title IX, and we're going to come after you because you're not allowing women to have the right to play sports unfettered without these unfair competitions. Are these winning arguments for you when you hear them? And how do you think he did at his town hall? And did he score points with you today if you're a woman, or push you away in this all-female town hall? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Really, it's interesting to see folks in the middle and or on the moderate right side, or even, far right, you know what you're going to get. But the moderate and middle of the roaders are panning Kamala's interview tonight as well with Bret Baier. Here's another piece of I'll give you another piece from that interview that aired this afternoon/evening. But I wanted to share this as promised. Kamala Harris's Pennsylvania campaign plagued by finger pointing and drama. Pennsylvania is such a mess. This is from the Political left-leaning publication. Democrats in Pennsylvania worried about Kamala's operation being run poorly in the nation's biggest battleground state. Aides lack relationships with key figures in Philadelphia and its suburbs. They complain they've been left out for events, and surrogates have not been deployed effectively. They've urged Harris in private staff meetings to do more to turn out voters of color. Some are pointing fingers at Harris' campaign manager for Pennsylvania, Nikki Lou. They say she lacks deep knowledge of Philadelphia. One of the most powerful labor leaders is in the state here, says this guy, Ryan Boyer. He's one of the most powerful labor leaders in the state. And he said, I don't think she understands Philadelphia today. The Pennsylvania Democrat elected officials, party leaders, and allies, 20 of whom spoke to leftist Politico for this article, say they're anxious. The in-state operation has set them back. They fear they're running out of time. One of the Democrat elected officials in the state told the Politico, Pennsylvania is such a mess, it's incredibly frustrating. At this level of frustration and finger pointing is not common, they say. Elected officials in the state described Kamala's campaign manager for Pennsylvania as AWOL. The campaign has left elected officials feeling unengaged and disrespected. Former Latino coalition manager in Pennsylvania left after 2 weeks on the job, wrote a blistering memo to state party leaders in August saying she was provided with no access to necessary data on Latino demographics, no infrastructure to plans to engage on plans to engage the Latino community. Please give us the tools to win, she wrote. Harris officials said it was untrue that she was not given access to those tools. Well, pointing fingers is a sign that your campaign is going to lose and that you're already trying to make excuses for who messed it up, and you don't want it to be you. Then you have this from the Journal today, coming out this afternoon. Kamala Harris sharpens negative attacks on Trump campaign's final weeks. It says right here, the vice president's decision is to deliver a much sharper attacks on her rival during the campaign's final weeks. She's leaning into the threat of a second Trump term, building up on her portrayal of the former president as a self-interested politician who doesn't have the agenda for the middle class. The problem is we know what he did for 4 years, and we like it. We don't like his, I'm not going to say we, but people don't like his irascible and nasty stuff on Twitter. But, I mean, listening to some stuff this afternoon, it's like people don't care about that if it means their pocketbook and inflation and groceries are gonna be fixed for the better. And they can afford a house. They can afford to buy a car. They start making money instead of losing it under inflation with Kamala and Joe. Continuing on, her attack is going to be Trump considers anybody who doesn't support him will not bend to his will an enemy of the state. He's saying he would use the military to go after them. Think about that. Do you think Trump's going to put the military on you? I mean, they're the ones going after Trump and his supporters and putting us in jail and prosecuting us. Harris says she wants to use the clips that Trump has said with his ideas as a way of presenting evidence, like a prosecutor that she makes in her closing arguments against Trump. I think that's a failing decision. I don't think it's a good decision. I could be wrong, but I think it's bad. Negative attacks. Oh, the Wall Street Journal says it was Journal, said in 2016, Hillary Clinton did this. She did this. Hillary Clinton attacked Trump just like this, said he was morally unfit, and it didn't work. And her poll numbers are pretty similar to Trump's. In fact, they're not as good as Trump's. As Clinton's. Harris's numbers are not as good as Clinton's. It's not good at all. Next on the Chris Crock Show at 10:03. We have a school. We now have the amounts. This Keller ISD has been asking you to help pay for lunch bumps. Parents who don't pay their kids' lunch debts. We now have the amounts owed in total to the district from the last couple years, including now. We also have the amount of parents that are on free and reduced lunch. And I'm going to ask you, because I think this shows I was right. Coming up next on the Chris Crock Show at 10:03 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-9227 is our number.